All right, let's dive right in. OpenAI just dropped a bombshell, a new model that could completely change the game for how we work with our computers. It's called GPT-5.3-Codex, and trust me, this is a huge leap forward for AI.
And right out of the gate, OpenAI makes this incredibly powerful statement. Really pay attention to the wording here. They're not calling it a tool that just spits out code. No, they're calling it an agent that can do pretty much anything a pro can do on their computer. That right there is a fundamental shift in how we should be thinking about this.
So, what really makes this new model different? Well, it's all about framing it as a new kind of AI collaborator, not just a simple assistant.
So here's how they did it. OpenAI basically took the absolute best parts of their previous models and fused them together. Imagine taking the top-tier coding skills from the last Codex model and combining that with the super advanced reasoning from their main GPT-5.2 model. You get the best of both worlds, all in one package. Oh, and did I mention it's also 25% faster? Yeah, pretty impressive.
And this whole collaborator vibe really comes down to a few key things. First off, it can handle those really long, drawn-out tasks. It can use tools, like other software. It can follow super complex instructions. But honestly, the real game changer here is the real-time interaction. You can actually steer it as it works, give it feedback on the fly, and it remembers everything you've talked about, just like a real-life colleague.
Okay, so that all sounds great on paper, right? But what does this new power actually look like in practice? Let's move beyond just writing code and look at some real-world examples and data.
All right, let's put some numbers to this. On a test called SWE-Bench 2.0, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a test of an AI's practical skills using the command line, the new model hits a score of 77.3%. Now you might think, is that good? Well, the previous best was 64.0%. So yeah, that's not just a little bump. That is a massive step up in what this thing can actually do.
But, raw numbers only tell you so much. To really push its limits and see what this whole agent thing is about, OpenAI gave it a heck of a task. Build complex web games, totally from scratch. We're talking about projects that need constant back and forth, fixing bugs, coming up with new ideas, all over millions and millions of tokens. That's a serious test of endurance and creativity.
Okay, here's a much more down-to-earth example. You ask it to build a simple landing page. The old model, it gives you something fine. Basic pricing, a single static testimonial. It works. But the new GPT 5.3 Codex? Whoa. It just gets it. It creates a much smarter pricing layout, a cool dynamic carousel for the testimonials. The whole thing just feels polished and production ready right away.
And this is the really crucial takeaway. We have to stop thinking about this as just a code generator. It's designed to support the entire software lifecycle. I'm talking about everything from the very beginning, writing product requirement docs, doing user research, creating slide decks, to the nitty-gritty of analyzing data in spreadsheets, debugging and deploying code, and even monitoring the systems after they're live. This is a tool for the whole shebang.
All right, but this next part, this is probably the most surprising and, frankly, coolest part of the whole announcement. It's the story of how this AI played a central role in building itself.
Which brings up a huge question, right? How in the world did OpenAI make this big of a leap so fast? We all know AI is moving at a breakneck pace, but this just felt like something else entirely.
And the answer is a total game changer for how AI is even developed. Simply put, they turned the tool on itself. That's right, they used early versions of this very model to help improve, debug, and deploy the final version. It's this incredible feedback loop that just put the whole development process into overdrive.
So what does that actually mean? Let's break it down. Step 1. The AI was literally monitoring its own training runs and squashing bugs. Step 2. It was optimizing the very systems that were needed to deploy it. Step 3. It built new data pipelines so the human researchers could analyze its test results better. And for the grand finale, Step 4, it was dynamically scaling the massive GPU clusters, the supercomputers, to manage its own launch. It wasn't just a project, it became an active engineer on the project.
Okay, but of course, whenever you have this kind of incredible new capability, the conversation has to turn to safety. When you build a tool that's this powerful and understands computer systems on such a deep level, security becomes priority number one.
And make no mistake, its skills in this area are, well, they're formidable. It scored a 77.6% on a suite of cybersecurity challenges. Now, what that number means is that it has a powerful ability to both find and potentially exploit vulnerabilities. And that's exactly why the safety conversation is so critical. In fact, because of this power, OpenAI has officially classified it as a high-capability model for cybersec tasks. And that's not just some fancy marketing term. It's a formal designation in their safety rules that immediately triggers the absolute highest level of security protocols and safeguards.
And these safeguards are pretty extensive. We're talking about specialized safety training baked right into the model, automated systems that are constantly watching for misuse, and special trusted access programs to make sure the most advanced features are only used by the right people. But they're not just playing defense. They're also partnering with open source projects and putting up $10 million in API credits, that's basically giving away free access, to help good guys build up our collective cyber defenses.
So let's step back for a second. What does all of this mean for the future of how we work? How is this going to change our day-to-day relationship with our computers?
Really, what we're looking at is a major step towards having a single, do-it-all agent for pretty much any technical work you can imagine on a computer. It's no longer just about coding. This is the foundation for a truly universal collaborator.
And that leaves us with a pretty profound thought to chew on. Our relationship with, our most essential tool, the computer, is changing right before our eyes. It's shifting from being a passive tool that we command to an active partner that we work with. So the question really isn't just what you can do on your computer anymore. It's what can you and your computer build together. So I'll leave you with this. If your computer truly becomes your collaborator, what will you build?